My name is Brett Thompson, and today I'm going to be talking about my project, the use of learning analytics in conjunction with learning management systems in K-12 education. That's a mouthful. Well, learning management systems have been around for a long while. And until recently, all of the useful data that they have generated, there's been no way to really use it apart from being able to get the marks out of it and stuff like that. Well, learning analytics takes that useful data that the learning management system, or LMS, and puts it into a useful form. So we're going to be looking at some of the benefits of learning analytics and also how they work. And we're also going to be look at some of the things which we have to look out for when introducing learning in analytics into a school environment. You have the learning management system. This is a system in which the school uses to present all of its lessons, like for instance the lessons for math, science, English. It presents them like on a web page. Students at Charles Sturt have probably encountered this in the form of a Blackboard. It in itself is a learning management system. Well, not only does this present the lessons, it also generates metadata. How often a certain student clicks on a subject, and also the student's marks for doing this subject. This then is sent over to a learning analytics platform. This then sorts the data and then puts it in a usable form where it displays it to the teacher. The teacher then, who has this data now in a usable form, is then able to go and sort it out and have a look and determine, wow, Jimmy Smith is not doing all that well at this point in time. We're only halfway through the course and he doesn't understand the basics. So then he's able to go to the student who's not who's having a hard time with a subject matter and do some extra work with him and bring him up to a point where he'll be able to do better on the course. The learning management system present the data to the teacher. It can also present it to the student. Why would we want this, you might ask? Well, this is so that the student could see how they're going in relation to the class, or where they should be, in regard to their assignments, like are they up to the same standard as the rest of the people? As people have a habit of either overestimating or underestimating how they're actually going in relation to how they are going. So learning analytics stops that as it gives the student a true representation of where they are. Possible to measure student engagement in a subject. Well, how might you do that? Well, the learning analytics system can tell how many times a video on a class page was watched, what subjects have been posted into a class forum, did students participate in an optional test, and if they did, how many times did they participate? All of these things can be measured by the learning analytics system, and the data can be massaged, and then this can be fed back to the educator to help him to devise better learning strategies to increase the student engagement in learning. For learning analytics systems can be used to predict the future marks of students. But how does it do this? Well, as you can see on the chart over there, that you can see 6 clusters of students measuring the type of work done on the LMS. This is in terms of hours logged, clicks done on the LMS, lecture videos watched, tutorial videos watched. These 6 groups all are different, and they have all done different work on the LMS. But will this show a different result in their end exam result? Well, we're going to see. The marks of the different clusters are radically different. So this means that it means that it is possible, using the correct algorithms, you can see ahead of time of how a student is likely to go in a subject based on the hours logged into the LMS, or the number of videos watched or slideshows seen, etc. After that, the student or the teacher can then be given warning on how they're going in the subject, like if they're falling behind, and what their future mark is predicted to be in the end of the subject. This will then encourage the student to do better, or give the teacher warning so that help can be given to that student. For me, was one of the more exciting functions about data analytics, and that is the ability of data analytics to detect different learning styles of a student. Well, what is a different learning style? Well, it's based off the well-researched premise that different students have different learning styles. Some might learn better through videos, some might learn better through reading text, or some might learn better through doing quizzes, and so on and so on. So what it does is it uses this premise, is it detects through the use of a quiz or some other detection method, even if this has been done in a previous subject from another course, what type of learner the subject is. This info is fed, as you can see, into the learning analytics system, which it then analyzes the data and feeds information back into the LMS, like Moodle, as we can see in the diagram there. It then alters the subject content itself on the LMS. So each student will see on their screen a totally different makeup of their course to the person next to them, based on their own particular learning style. In other words, it's entirely configurable for them. Thus, it provides a much better learning experience for each student. To be taken into account is the different ways that different subjects use the LMS. This will in turn affect the way that the learning analytics system displays the results. For instance, all of the subjects over there have pass and fail marks within about 68 to 75%. But the tools they use within the LMS, as you can see, are radically different across the board. So a student doing computers that did not access a quiz might not really mean that they're not taking their learning seriously, as quizzes in the computer subject might have not such a big effect on the end mark and might not be as part of the learning process. But in the case of a biology student, it could have a much greater effect. This is because the way that biology and computers are taught is different in the LMS. I'll come to the question, what sort of investment is needed to implement a good learning analytics system? Well, if you buy a off-the-shelf one from a company, it costs in terms of finance. There are freeware options available. However, freeware is a bit like a free puppy. It's not really free because it costs in terms of implementation and customization and in labour. Another investment which needs to be made is you need a good learning analytics policy, which needs to include the privacy. And you also need the skills to maintain whatever system you have for implementing the correct algorithms to mine the data, and as things on your system change, they need to be updated. And because it's better to have no feedback at all than the wrong feedback. So all of these things means that having a learning analytics system can cost in terms of manpower and in terms of dollars in keeping it up to date and keeping it current for what the school's needs. Learning analytics can indeed revolutionise the student learning process in K-12 education. It can help a teacher identify at-risk students. It can cause students to be motivated, that need to be motivated. It is, however, extremely complex and difficult to implement to its full extent. It does require a large amount of pre-investment and working out how your learning management system is currently working. In fact, it is my judgment that for the small to medium school of limited means, at the moment, it's too hard to implement effectively. With the proper help, however, this may change in years' time with advances in technology and how more and more learning analytic systems are coming out with much greater and much easier control with regard to their customization.